Tear gas, water cannon and concussion grenades are allegedly used against activists as they protest the construction of the Dakota Access oil pipeline, reportedly injuring over 150 people. RT catches an off-camera conversation between the top two officials at the World Anti-Doping Agency. Its Director General says the organization shouldn't appear desperate for Russia to come back into the fold. Also, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy concedes defeat in the Republican Party's primary as past Prime Minister Francois Fillon positions himself to become the centre-right French presidential candidate. Plus, also ahead, RT goes to space, and we're taking our viewers with us with the first ever 360-degree content filmed on board the International Space Station. Wherever you're tuning in from around the world this hour, welcome to Moscow and to RT International. My name's Ewan O'Neill. Good to have your company. We begin in the US this hour, where activists protesting against the construction of the Dakota Access oil pipeline have allegedly had tear gas and rubber bullets used against them by police. That's taken place near the Standing Rock Indian Reservation in North Dakota. A total of 167 people have been injured, according to Indigenous Rising Media, which cites a medic on site. On social media, reports from the scene suggest that things have indeed turned ugly.
This is the blockade on 1806. They are using tear gas, mace, water cannons, rubber bullets, compression grenades against peaceful, unarmed water protectors.
Yeah, it's been reported that police actions have left a number of protesters with severe head injuries. The police, for their part, have issued a statement saying that the protesters were being highly aggressive and were rioting. Activists also say that the police tried to shoot down a drone of theirs to try and stop them, documenting the protests.
That's the water cannon you see going right now. You see those in the background there. Again, this is around zero temperatures, and these are peaceful, unarmed people.
Well, political analyst and member of the Ground Zero Centre for Nonviolent Action, Elizabeth Murray, says the actions of the police amounts to assault.
People were sprayed with water cannons in 25-degree cold. Meanwhile, the Morton County Sheriff is apparently denying that they've used water cannons, but thanks to social media, people can get online, check out the live streaming that has been going on through the night, and see the terror that these nonviolent water protectors have been subjected to, and it's really appalling. This is just a full-blown assault on completely peaceful, nonviolent protesters. I did see several reports, as yet unconfirmed, that the ground was vibrating underneath the area where the pipeline is being constructed, and that it's quite possible that this attack tonight could be a cover, actually a distraction, while underground drilling is taking place.
Well, recent rallies against the construction of the new oil pipeline have been gaining momentum right across the US. Thousands of people have been heading out onto the streets to show support for Native American activists and to demand the government reroutes or completely stops its construction. They believe it could seriously pollute the environment and destroy sites considered sacred by the indigenous peoples. But the main company behind the pipeline insists that rerouting it is impossible. The rallies have turned violent more than once.
The whole world is watching! The whole world is watching! Safety for everyone!
Last week, up to 40 people were arrested in New York after over 2,000 people took to the streets holding up signs and chanting, "Water is life." That protest was part of a nationwide day of action in what has been and continues to be a long and drawn-out battle between local tribes and activists on one side and authorities on the other. One UN human rights expert has condemned the repeated use of force against demonstrators.
You have to get off the pickup and move to the south.
This is not okay.
Have to have you guys go south if we will put that fire out.
Tensions have escalated in the past 2 weeks, with local security forces employing an increasingly militarized response to protests and forcibly moving encampments located near the construction site.
Moving on now, the World Anti-Doping Agency does not want to appear to be desperate for Russia's return to its organization. That is according to the watchdog's Director General, Nicolas, who was captured by our team having a conversation with the president of WADA following a board meeting.
It's good to say we're working with Russia, but don't give the impression that we're rushing. By saying you're impatient that this is over. It is that. We are. We want them to get back, but not under any condition. I'll just be careful.
Yeah, but I should be encouraging the Smirnoff.
Not too much. Even I was saying, you're going to be seen as
just the neutral, the David Walsh series.
we're not desperate for them to come back. They'll come back if they do the right thing. And that's really key. And we're working with IWF and IPC on that.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Well, the World Anti-Doping Agency has been meeting in Scotland, where its head praised the efforts of Vitaly Smirnov, the chief of Russia's new anti-doping commission. Smirnov himself also reiterated that Moscow wants to work more closely with WADA.
I think the establishment by President Putin of an independent commission run by a highly respected Olympic figure is a very good thing. I've known Vitaly Smirnov for many years, and I think we're making progress.
Me and all my colleagues, all of us are intending to win back trust. This is our goal.
Truly has been a day of two halves for Russia as far as their relationship with WADA is concerned. You heard that open mic situation. Why they had that conversation so close to the end of a press conference is anyone's guess. But during that press conference, Craig Reedy, the president of WADA, said that he was pleased to have Vitaly Smirnov, who heads the Russian Anti-Doping Commission there. And essentially it's Smirnov's job to restore the status of RUSADA, Russia's anti-doping agency. He's had since July, when he was appointed, and he outlined the moves that his commission has made since then, which include things like changing the law to make the administering of performance-enhancing drugs illegal. It seemed to us in the room as a bit of a turning point, really, a move away from this politically charged atmosphere that we had during the summer. That, though, was inside the room. Listen to what happened outside the room when Smirnov was confronted with international journalists.
You were cheating and the government was helping you cheat. Why will you not accept this?
If a certain person is a criminal, doesn't mean that the whole country belongs to
Is
that.
Mr. Mutko a criminal?
Mr. Mutko is Deputy Prime Minister.
You being is a criminal?
Yeah.
Is he a criminal or yes?
Why were Yuri Nagornik and Natalia Zelenova dismissed?
His name was mentioned in McLaren
So
report.
is that an acceptance, a quiet acceptance, a tacit acknowledgement that those individuals were involved
No,
in this?
Mr. Nagorny, member of the Russian government, yes or no, or was he?
No, he was not.
He was not. He was not deputy sports minister?
No, he was deputy minister. He was not.
Deputy minister is a member of the government.
That's only minister is a member of the government.
A deputy not?
No.
This, of course, all follows the release of the McLaren report, which accused Russia of a 4-year state-sponsored doping program, and you'll remember led to more than 100 Russian athletes being banned from the Rio Olympics. Now, the final version of that report, WADA has announced, will be released on the 9th of December, and it may form what we might call the end of the beginning of this affair, but it looks certain from today's proceedings that Smirnov, Russia and his team have quite a long way to go.
Well, we asked a number of sport experts for their take on the off-camera remarks by WADA chiefs on Russia.
Let's be very honest, a horrible hypocrisy in the whole system. And in private, he's pushing Russia very hard. He's quite tough, but at the same time, public, he's saying, look, we're getting there, we will get there. It's terrible PR for WADA. The language is very dangerous that's been used from both journalists and from officials. That is state-run, state-designed, state-supported, state-ordered. Whatever problems are there, and we know there are problems, this kind of aggressive and inflammatory language doesn't help.
It appears that some members of WADA are ready to welcome Russia back because they believe that the world of sport needs Russia, and it probably does. A great many competitions in the world, not just athletics, but a great many other sports, need Russia's presence because Russia is such a strong sporting nation. But it seems other factions, that is interest groups in WADA, are hostile towards Russia because they believe the state-sponsored doping program is true.
I think world sport wants Russia back, but, you know, Russia can't expect to have a free pass even though the Olympics are gone. You know, Russia is expected to make efforts and to show it's making efforts.
To another of our headline stories this hour, former French Prime Minister Francois Fillon, to the great surprise of many, has come out on top in the first round of the Republican Party's primaries. The centre-right party is currently in the process of nominating a presidential candidate for the 2017 presidential elections. The shock victory led to former President Nicolas Sarkozy crashing out of the race. Well, just a month ago, Fillon's chances of winning were very low, according to the polls, while almost everyone predicted a runoff between Sarkozy and their other main rival, Alain Juppé. Fillon's popularity appears to have skyrocketed. RT talked to some people on the streets of Paris to find out how they feel about the political situation in their country.
The more time passes, the more votes are increasing for the National Front, because I believe people are not convinced by either the right or the left. So they say, why not Marine Le Pen?
The establishment don't understand what the populations think.
For a very long time we told people, do not do anything, you have everything. So I believe people have had enough. People who work and produce the country's wealth have had enough of left-wing politics.
People are disappointed with classical politics, and because there's been no result for too many years.
I think that the experience of the United States for us is the best thing.
If someone has been electing, a country has elected someone like Trump, Marine Le Pen can be and represent a good change for France too.
So what does frontrunner Francois Fillon stand for? Well, he advocates taking a tough approach on immigration and wants to see radical pro-business reforms as well as cooperation with Moscow in the fight against ISIL. Many suggest the Republicans are talking tough on those issues in order to draw voters away from the far-right National Front Party. The country's current Prime Minister, Manuel Valls, predicts that French politics will see a fundamental shift next year.
C'est possible.
Marine Le Pen's victory is possible. All the opinion polls show that she will be there to the end. It means she will face a candidate either from the right or from the left, and the polls say it's more likely from the right. It means the balance of French political life is going to change completely.
Well, the French presidential election will be held in spring, and given the disarray among the ruling socialists, whoever wins the Conservative contest is likely to be competing with the National Front's Marine Le Pen to become head of state. Earlier, we heard from Jack Rasmus, a professor of political economy, on the issue.
I think Le Pen is in a very strong position here because people are just rejecting the old parties that are associated with the old policies, and they don't really care how extreme some of their positions might be. She's speaking to the issues that people are concerned about. In other words, declining standard of living, the lack of real job creation. You know, a lot of these jobs are part-time temp contract jobs. You can't make a living off of them. A lot of the youth can't find jobs at all. And of course, someone comes along like Le Pen or Trump or, you know, the UKIP party in Britain and says, look, we're going to change. And it doesn't matter how detailed they get or don't get about the details of the change. It's just that, okay, here's something that's going to give us something different. We can't put up with what we got anymore.
It is time to get stellar because right now RT's cameras are streaming out of this world panoramas for the very first time. Now, together with the Russian space agency Roscosmos and the rocket company injuring, we've launched an ambitious project to bring you 360-degree interactive videos from space, and that's an exclusive world first. RT's Emily Sue has been checking it out for us.
Remember that dream you had of being in space but have forgotten about because, well, life got in the way? What if I tell you you're about to get a second chance to revisit that dream again, this time with your own personal tour guide?
Hello everyone from Space 360. My name is Andrei Borisenko. I'm a cosmonaut.
Welcome to the second episode of Space 360, where we bring you groundbreaking panoramic videos we filmed beyond the Earth's atmosphere. With Borisenko's help, you can not only get a feel of what it's like to be floating on board the ISS, but also check out the view of our planet yourself.
What do we see here? Oh, wow. There's a stunning view. We can see the Earth, the most wonderful planet in the universe. I think that no matter how many more new planets we discover, the Earth will always be our home because it is the most beautiful planet. Look, what a gorgeous view opens up from the cupola. You are now able to see unique pictures with your own eyes. Watching it as we do here, just like us, you can appreciate the beauty of our planet. And you see that our Earth is round. There are no whales or elephants holding it up. Our wonderful planet freely floats on its own in what is called space.
Here's how it works. With our specially designed 360 camera equipped with multiple lenses, the raw footage we receive looked like this, kind of like entering a cosmic kaleidoscope. After we stitch all the shots together into one single video, that's when the magic happens. A 360 video where the user can navigate around themselves. Here, Borisenko is at the cupola part of the ISS, also known as the dome, where there's different windows that you can get views of the ISS and planet Earth. Here, through this window, you can see parts of the ISS. And if you just keep scrolling, you're gonna get a perfect view of our planet Earth right here. But if you want the full experience as if you're with Borisenko on the ISS, well, you'll need a pair of these. With these, you'll be able to immerse yourself in the panorama we filmed for you on board the ISS. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go for a ride in space now.
You're with RT International. After the break, we look at what happened when Vladimir Putin met outgoing US President Barack Obama, perhaps for the last time, at the APEC summit in Peru. Stay with us.
Here's what people have been saying about Redacted tonight. Give it to us. Redacted is full-on awesome. So the only show I go out of my way to watch every week. It really packs a punch. Lee Camp is the John Oliver of RT America. They do have the same accent. Hey, we are apparently better than boobs.
Nothing's better than boobs.
You see, people you've never heard of love Redacted tonight. The president of the World Bank, though, hates it.
He doesn't really have any taste.
Seriously, he sent us an email.
What a Trump presidency will do is signal that it's not just about free trade, it's about free and fair trade. And whether it's the bilateral arrangements, whether it's the regional arrangements, or whether it's the multilateral arrangements, you're going to see much more emphasis on the fair element of trade.
Hello again. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit has concluded in the Peruvian capital. While there, the US and Russian presidents had a brief opportunity to talk to each other between meetings. President Putin and Barack Obama is welcome to come and visit Russia whenever he wants. And after their dialogue, Obama was asked about the leaked Democratic Party email, something previously blamed on Russia. He said that the issue did not come up because the election has already been and gone, and that his focus is on moving forward.
It is inevitable that we're going to have to modernize and update not just the tools we use to defend those assets and the American people, but also how we organize it. It is true that we are exploring a range of options in terms of how we organize the mission that currently exists.
This is President Obama's final APEC forum, and he was widely expected to give that TPP free trade agreement a final push. And one thing that's part of this final declaration signed by the 21 Asia-Pacific leaders is that a free trade agreement should be pursued, but it should not exclude any of the 21 economies involved, and that's something that Putin also said that he fully supports. The body language between that meeting, it did seem quite unfriendly and very tense, so President Putin has really cleared up a lot of questions over whether that was, a hostile short chat they had this morning. He said that it was very friendly and very respectful. He also said that he agrees with Trump's idea to reinvigorate the jobs industry in America and create more jobs for the American people. Let's take a listen.
Concerning the President-elect of the United States, we all know and understand that there's always a big difference between campaign promises and real policy in almost every country. About Mr. Trump's statements on focusing production back in the US and thus creating jobs, there's nothing wrong with that.
Now, moving over to the OPEC, the upcoming OPEC forum, President Putin said that Russia is ready to freeze oil production at the current level in order to stabilize global oil prices. And this is a situation, an opinion that Russia has remained unchanged upon.
Turning our attention to the Middle East now, where extremists have reportedly killed as many as 8 children in Aleppo in a fresh wave of shelling on civilian areas. We're about to show you images from one of the hospitals where victims have been taken, but please be warned, the footage is graphic.
The bloodshed is really a long way from abating. Today in West Aleppo, another particularly horrific day, we have confirmation that several civilians, mainly school children, have been killed in multiple attacks on the neighborhoods in the western part, the government-controlled areas of the city. Now, I have the names here of 8 children who lost their lives today as a result of that shelling. The youngest 6 years old, the eldest 11 years old. They were reportedly killed as a result of shelling on 2 elementary schools. I also have the names of 2 adult males who were also killed in shelling today, which would bring the death toll to 10. However, other local journalists are putting the total number of dead at 12, and with scores of people injured, that death toll could well rise. Now, we're also hearing that those schools that were hit in Al Furqan neighborhoods were near a university campus that was in fact accommodating refugees. And apparently many of those school children who were killed today were in fact staying in those campuses as refugees. Yet another example of how Syrians often face repeated tragedy as this conflict continues. These attacks on civilian neighborhoods have been going on now for several weeks, with many civilians killed in a particularly bloody month in West Aleppo. We have also seen reports that hundreds of people in rebel-held areas have been holding demonstrations against rebel authorities who allegedly have been preventing civilians from escaping the besieged neighborhoods of East Aleppo via exit routes. And yesterday morning, the Russian Defense Ministry claimed that rebel authorities had opened fire on demonstrators and killed some 17 civilians last Thursday.
Well, both sides of the conflict have been accusing each other of causing civilian casualties amid the renewed fighting, which began with an offensive launched by extremist groups in East Aleppo several weeks ago now. Well, news reports have also emerged claiming that all of the hospitals in eastern Aleppo have been destroyed, leaving nowhere to treat the wounded. The reports cite the World Health Organization, which in turn quotes an affiliated group of aid agencies based in Turkey. It is not clear who those agencies are, but the UN Special Envoy for Syria acknowledges that the damage to Aleppo's hospitals have not yet been verified by the UN. Journalist Vanessa Beeley, who focuses on Middle Eastern affairs, told us what she managed to find out from her contacts in Aleppo.
I spoke directly to the Aleppo Medical Association that is based in West Aleppo, but obviously still has connections to East Aleppo. And actually, the doctors in West Aleppo are paid by the Syrian government to treat both civilians and militants inside East Aleppo. But it's the militants, the so-called rebels, that have prevented their entry for probably over a month now. But they gave me information on the state of the hospitals in East Aleppo, and it goes like this. There are two government hospitals in East Aleppo. One is the eye hospital and the children's hospital combined in the same compound. That has been completely taken over by Nusra Front, which is Al-Qaeda in Syria, and they're used actually as a Sharia law courthouse rather than as a hospital. Then you have three private hospitals. All of these hospitals, I'm being told, are completely occupied by terrorist factions, by militant mercenary brigades. Civilians are not being treated in these hospitals. The top floors are being used as sniping towers.
The head of the Russian Orthodox Church says the time has come for a united front to be formed in the fight against Islamic State. That was in a wide-ranging interview with Daniel Hawkins exclusively for RT. You can watch the full version throughout the day on our channel or find it on our website at rt.com. Here is a short preview.
It is perfectly clear that, if the nations currently engaged in the interventions in Syria and Iraq are truly committed to eradicating terrorism, and if that stated objective is their only true goal, and there's no hidden agenda, then it shouldn't be a problem for us to join efforts and work together. After all, what is ISIS? We once defeated the Nazi powers through collective efforts, and they had half of Europe enslaved. So it seems to me it should be fairly easy to do away with ISIS, and thereby resolve the refugee crisis and all the other disasters and tragedies that are rooted in this conflict. We are not seeing that happen. So all that is left to us as Christians is to pray and, of course, work together with everyone so that all the nations involved realize that collaboration is instrumental.
You're watching RT International. Coming right up, Crosstalk looks at whether Donald Trump's foreign policy team will in practice really be any different from Obama's.